What if the strongest sign of a healthy church wasn't its size, programs, or budget, but its love? This week, we're diving into loving relationships, the foundation of a thriving church community. How do we move beyond small talk to real connection? What happens when love becomes more than just a Sunday morning greeting? Join us as we explore how deep, authentic relationships can transform a church from the inside out. Here on the Pastor's Potluck, our goal is to encourage you and maybe in the process, entertain you. If you're ready, let's dig in. Welcome to another episode of the Pastor's Potluck podcast. Thank you for joining us today. We are getting right into it. We are continuing our conversation on natural church development, which is a book, a study, a program that was developed by Christian Schwartz. And he talks in great detail and great length about 8 key traits of a healthy and thriving church. Today we are discussing, for me, whenever I was doing the studying on this, I was like, this is like the heartbeat. They're all equal, but this is like this is a heartbeat of a thriving church, and that's loving relationships.
Yeah, and you know it's fun. I know that it always, maybe I've said this with all of them, they feel obvious.
Yeah.
Or like they feel like, well, doesn't every church have that? And it's like, no, as we've said with every other week, every church has relationships. Not every church has a great deal of loving relationships.
Yeah.
And again, it's always the adjective that makes the difference.
Yes.
Because you will find plenty of churches where the people inside the church do not like each other.
Or they only communicate on Sundays.
Yeah, and they're not involved in each other's lives.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got board members that won't speak to each other. You've got fist fights in the parking lot. It's all over the place. And even if we're not talking about like really extreme examples, yes, what you said, there's a lot of times you could go to a church and never connect with anybody, and have no relationships whatsoever. And it's those loving relationships that help ground pretty much everything else that we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Right? You know, before we get to gifts-based ministry, someone needs to know that they have a friend at the church. Before we call them to inspiring worship services, they need connection.
Yeah.
Right. It was one of those things. I was at a conference this past week for youth pastors and youth workers and folks like that. And I went to this one breakout session on Bible literacy, and the whole point the guy was trying to make was people won't listen to what it is that you have to say until you've created a relationship with them.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, of course. Right? The more relationships people find at church, the deeper they end up in their walk with the Lord, because they want to show up more consistently. They want to serve. They want to get into a group. They want to exercise. They have these people in their life. Now all of a sudden they're doing life with people, and it's not just a Sunday morning. I show up, I fill up a little seat, and then I go home. Now I'm actually doing life, and it starts to actually look like what the church looked like in Acts chapter 2 when God was adding to their numbers daily. It was like, this is how we walk this thing out together. We actually show up in each other's lives in meaningful ways. And when we do that, everything else gets better. At the church, in our personal lives, it all gets better. So, yes, this is one of those, you can see how this would improve all the other 7.
So let me ask you a question, because I think a lot of the times, some of the questions have been geared towards like maybe just like individual practices.
Yeah.
And I kind of wanted to correct that a little bit. How does the church begin to foster deep and loving relationships?
I think, as with any good organization, everything comes top down.
Yeah.
So if the people at the top of the organization do not model what loving relationships and caring for one another looks like, then it'll be very difficult for the church as a whole to get on board with it.
Yeah.
And so, you know, if you attend a church where the pastors are inaccessible, are not able to care for your needs. They're not out in the lobby before or after service. You know, if you go to a green room type church, like we have a green room, which just happens to be your office, but we're not allowed to sit in here to hide from our church.
No.
We meet in here, and then we go out and we socialize. And so if it doesn't start at the top, it's really difficult for our church to model loving relationships. Like, they need to see it in the leadership first. And that's how the church begins to set the culture of, again, we have 400, 500 people that go to this church.
Yeah.
I can't be in a loving sort of relationship, close-knit, let me take care of all of your needs relationship with 500 people.
Yeah.
But the church does need to see that I'm doing it with some people. And then the more that the people in leadership will do that, then we can begin to trickle that down to where everyone in the church has a friend, has someone that cares for them, has someone to call when things are going bad. This is one of those things that, like, there's friend groups that do this better than some churches.
Yeah.
You know, there's friend groups outside the church that do this somewhat better, of just making sure that the needs of the people that they're connected to are taken care of. Because if you as a pastor or as a church leader are only interested in someone so far as they can serve you, I want you to show up to add to our numbers. I want you to serve so I can go and grow more people. But if you're not interested in actually loving that person and making sure that their needs are met, then you're abusing them. You're taking advantage of them, and we don't want just more numbers for the sake of numbers. We want to be able to care for people. This has always been my prayer as our church grows is, God, send us the people that we can disciple. Don't send us a bunch of people if we're not ready for it. If we're not going to properly take care of your people, because we understand how precious it is when God lays it on someone's heart to come to church and they choose to come to this church. That is a precious responsibility that we should care for those people, because loving relationships make the difference. It is one of the things that sets the church apart from the world in a lot of ways. Like, people want to find connection. They want to find a place where people care about them, where they belong. They have a sense of, like, I belong here and these people care about me.
Yeah.
And so the church has to be that place where they find that. And then it can trickle out into our own individual efforts as well. But I think for any good organization, it has to start at the top. And then for that also, one of the ways is based on the gifting of the leader. I think some of it has to be systematized in a way to get the ball rolling. That's what we've ended up having to do here, because I am not naturally just bent towards loving relationships and, like, hey, let me, if someone's in the hospital, like, I'm not the immediate, like, oh, I should go and do something, or that's not. So we have systematized the way that we're able to help create and cultivate relationships here. Yeah. And it's not to say that those are superficial because we're just following a system. The system helps us go and actually do what it is that we needed to do anyways.
I think for task-oriented people too, like yourself and myself included, it sets us up for success, because we do see on the other side of it the benefit of it. And so just having like it's terrible to say this especially whenever it comes to relationships, but just having a checklist. Hey, like, can I take a little bit of time out of my day to call someone, to shoot them a text message? Can I take a little bit of time out of my day to comment on someone's Facebook and actually put a little bit of depth and meaning? Because, I mean, people are important, and they how do I put this? The relationship side of things for myself just don't come naturally.
Exactly.
I'm socially awkward.
If talking about instituting loving relationships in a systematic way feels like robotic or cold, that's not the way that I'm meaning it to come off, right?
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to get at.
We know how important it is, but we know that that's our weakness.
Yeah.
We have had to systematize a way to make it a strength.
Yeah.
Even though the system exists to help us lovingly care for our congregation, those are not forced or faked relationships.
Correct.
We're just using a system to make sure that we go and do what we have said is most important, which
Correct.
is taking care of our people.
God, you're so much better at wording things.
So that's because I could hear someone going, wow, they only reach out to me because I'm a name on a list. It's like, no, listen, would you rather be a name on a list that gets a call from me or a text from me, or never receive a call or a text because it's not on a list? And if it's not on a list, it's not going to intuitively come to me, right? So my mom and dad attend a church. Their pastor is a great pastor. Like he cares for people in a way that I'm not wired. Yeah. So he probably doesn't need systems and processes to go and do what comes natural to him.
Yeah.
That doesn't make him better or worse than me, and it doesn't make his relationships any more genuine just because I have to work from a system to do it. Because we both agree what's important is taking care of people. And the more that we take care of people, they'll have a sense of belonging, and then they'll feel the need to go and do likewise as well. Because what we want is that trickle-down effect, that as the congregation feels cared for by the staff, then the congregation can take ownership of then taking those loving relationships and taking them farther into the organization to go, okay, well now if I'm a life group leader, I'm being cared for by the leadership of the church. Now I can go and take that same, what they're doing for me, and I can do it for people that are in my group. Yeah. Now all of a sudden, everyone in a group can be cared for because the person that's in charge of the group is being cared for. And same thing on ministry teams. When a ministry leader is taking care of someone that's in a leadership position on their ministry, then those leaders can then take that to the next level, and then to the next level. This is how you make sure that a whole church gets lovingly cared for and plugged into one another. Because the last thing that we want is for someone to fall through the cracks, because it's going to happen, right? And it's never intentional. You know, churches get such bad raps for like, because this can happen anywhere. Like, we have a fantastic structure set up here for Sunday mornings as far as how to welcome guests and make sure we get nothing but compliments. But inevitably, every year, somebody sends us a message and goes, this is the coldest place I've ever been. Nobody said it. Like, yes, it happens. Everything, but the better or the more intentionality there is behind it, the less that happens.
I also feel like with like a system in place, it sets me up for success whenever I connect with someone and reach out to them in whatever celebration or trial in life that they're going through. It opens up a door for me to genuinely get to know someone. And I'm grateful for that, because without it, there would be a lot of people that, I mean, just because this is a large church and we've got a lot of people coming and going. It's only
keep getting bigger and more difficult.
Yeah.
For this to happen.
Yeah.
So that's why, for us, systematizing it through, we have a Monday morning meeting that we call The Dump, which I understand if you're just hearing that for the first time, that's a weird meeting name. But how that came about was when I got back from sabbatical last fall, I knew care was an area that we needed to work on. And I had this idea for a meeting called The Dump. And what was in my mind was, because Sunday is when we're gathering all of our information about people. We're connecting with people. Hey, how's it going? What you got going on this week? We're going to have all this information.
Yeah.
And so a meeting first thing Monday morning to come and dump all of that into a spreadsheet to go, okay, Jared found out so-and-so's having surgery. He's going to send them a card. So-and-so found out little Billy won the championship this weekend. Pastor Jess is going to send the card. We found out this person's in the hospital. Whoever's on pastoral care is going there. And like through that meeting, The Dump, now all of us have assignments all week long of how to go and touch 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 different people throughout the week. Plus we have a card team that not really anonymously, but like sends cards to people, not on behalf of us, but on behalf of the just Southridge Church in general, because they're wanting to care for people.
Yeah.
And then as people are taken care of and loved in that way, they go, oh, well, I can go and do this for other people as well.
Yeah.
So then what we'll find out that, hey, other people have their own little card thing going on, or we have other people that are just popping up in people's lives. I love scrolling Facebook and seeing people that did not know each other outside of church, like out on a date together, like two couples going out.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, wow, that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
And we want it for everyone. But you know, everybody wants a relationship with the pastor or the pastors. And it's like, listen, there's 500 people here. Like, that's not going to be possible. But that doesn't mean that you can't find loving relationships here.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're going to systematize it in such a way, we're going to get you hooked up. If you'll do the things that we're asking, get into a group, get into a serving team, you do those two things, you are going to find people that don't just want to come to church with you and attend the same church. They really want to be part of your life.
Yeah.
I mean, we're seeing it all the time with people that serve together on First Impressions. They're doing family trips together. They're doing weekend stuff together. They're going out to dinner together.
Yeah.
There's like real relationships happening.
We've even seen couples like go out of the country together.
Yeah, it's and what
That's crazy.
What I get sad because there's people that aren't experiencing that.
Yeah.
That like they just come to church and are anonymous and they don't know anybody. They just come in, they go out, and I go, man, there's so much more that you're missing out on when you're not participating.
Yeah.
In that, because it's like, here's what I'll try to tell everyone why you should get into some sort of biblical community. And I don't say this as a way to like lean on their feelings and try to get them to do something they don't really want to do. But the truth of the matter is, one day you are going to have to be standing beside a hospital bed of somebody.
Yeah.
Whether that's your parents, whether that is a sibling, whether that is, God forbid, a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Who is going to be standing there with you in that moment?
Yeah.
And if you don't have a good answer for that, then you need to find biblical community at your church. Because I promise you this, you find biblical community at your church, you'll have an answer to that question.
Yeah.
That when all hell is breaking loose in my life, who's going to stand beside me? Where's that call going to come from? Where's that text going to come from? Where's that meal going to come from? Where is that babysitter going to come from?
Yeah.
It's going to come from the people that you've invested in relationships with. And we're all going to get to a point in our life where we're going to need that.
Yeah.
Just are. Storms in life are inevitable. You get to choose whether you invest in loving relationships or not. And the beautiful thing is, loving relationships blesses your life. It also blesses the church.
Yeah.
And so it's symbiotic even in that way, that it will bless your personal life to have friends, have people that, hey, me and the wife need to go on a date tonight. We don't know who's going to watch our kids.
Yeah.
Find some, like, get in relationship with someone where you now have that answer, where you have a couple that you are doing life with and you're trading off. Hey, this weekend we'll watch all the kids. You guys go out on a date. Now you are being able to have your life blessed in all these ways because of loving relationships. It's a game changer because you'll start showing up to church different. This is why it impacts inspiring worship services. You'll start showing up to church different because now you're excited to see people that you're doing a relationship with. I just saw last night at my men's Bible study, there's a new family to our church. Been here like a month and a half maybe. And because he started coming to my men's group on Wednesday nights, when he walks in the room, he's got multiple people that he's greeting, dapping people up, and he's only been here for a month. But it's because, listen,
I spent more time with that guy on a Minecraft server than anything.
It's because he came in. I'm looking for relationships.
Yeah,
I'm looking for people to do life with because I want to do life with people at my church.
Yeah,
and that's how it should be.
Yeah,
like if you attend a church and no one knows you, it might be the church's fault. But if you go to a church like this, it's very likely that it's not.
Yeah.
Because there are opportunities given to you every week to be known at this church. Because our desire is not just for God to know you, but for us to know you. Because then we can take care of you.
Yeah.
right? It breaks my heart when there's someone that goes to our church who is disconnected, and then we'll find out months later that they went through some really tragic thing in their life, and they'll blame the church. Well, the church wasn't there for me. Well, who are you connected to?
Yeah.
How would we know that anything was going on? How would we be able to do that?
Yeah, we've set this place up for success to where it's easy to get plugged in to start serving.
If you live anonymously,
and to go to groups, and we have these events, like especially like this coming up week with all of the Easter stuff that we have going on. It's real easy just to say, hey, I'm going to take some time out of my week that's not on a Sunday morning and say, this is great. And what I have found too is that the people that are showing up to these events and the ones that are showing up to groups and the ones that are plugged in, those are the ones that are challenging me because I'm going to groups. I'm obviously invested in serving here. I'm being challenged in my walk with the Lord because I see them going after the same Jesus that I want to go after. And so my relationship with Jesus is a lot better and stronger because of them just showing up, and I see their desire and their hunger for more things of the kingdom of God. Yeah. And they want to see more of the kingdom, not only just here in Charleston, but in their own lives as well. They want to see their relationships with Jesus in their kids. And that makes me want to be a better father, to lead my kids to be closer to Jesus.
There was not anonymity in the early church.
No.
The scriptures tell us that those people met in the temple courts and then met in each other's homes.
Yeah.
There was not anonymity. There was not just someone that all they ever did was show up for the large group gathering, and they were doing life together.
Yeah.
That is not an option. Like, to just show up has never been an option for someone that is a Christ follower.
Yeah.
There is no biblical precedence for, I just show up when the group gathers, but I don't do anything else.
Yeah.
No, that's not an option. You should be plugged in to other people in the church who can bless your life, and you can be a blessing to them.
Yeah.
And when that happens, it's a really, really beautiful thing to watch God do.
One of the questions I want to ask about is, we understand that all people are messy in the sense of, we don't always get it right. What role does grace and forgiveness play in this key attribute, this quality of a healthy church?
Yeah. Well, it's paramount.
Yeah.
But I'll say, even among the church, it can be kind of absent at times.
Yeah.
I think this is why there's so many people just walking around going, well, that church hurt me, and I got hurt at that church and this church and that. And I'm not saying some of that's not valid.
Yeah.
There are some churches and some people in some churches doing some real foolish things to hurt people. But a lot of it really was just because the people inside the church weren't spiritually developed to be able to have relationships. Because inherent in every relationship, anytime that you open yourself up to love, you are also opening yourself up to hurt. Yeah, that's just the fact that you want to buy a dog. You have dogs. Yeah, you know this. I have cats. One day they're gonna die. Yeah, all right. The ability to love that dog means that one day I know we're gonna put that thing in the ground. Yeah, it's the same thing with friends. The ability to have friends, someone that's going to bless your life, is also the ability for them to screw up because they are a human being and they're going to hurt you. Yeah. And inside the church, if you don't learn how to forgive and have grace, then you will have a resume full of churches that are on your, man, they hurt me list, when really all it was some interpersonal tension that you weren't mature enough to know how to handle. Yeah. Right? Because we don't want to talk about difficult stuff. Somebody hurt me, so I just pick up my ball and go somewhere else. It's not supposed to be that way. Yeah. It's not supposed to be, well, that I got hurt over there, so I just take my problems and I go over to this other set of people. It's like, no, it's not supposed to be like that. If you don't learn, like, first off, here we are. A church is a concoction of a bunch of humans. Yeah. Not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah. And so why we hold people to a standard that we ourselves cannot even attain to, and then go, well, you let me down, so now we're not friends anymore. It's like, that's craziness. Like, if you don't learn how to have grace and forgiveness, you're not going to make it.
Yeah.
You're just going to be a victim your whole life. Because guess what? When you do life with people, it's messy. They're going to say things that you don't like.
Yeah.
They're going to believe things that you don't like. They're going to raise their kids differently than you, and they're going to have different things that they're for, the different things that they're against, and it's just messy. And then sometimes they're going to have a bad day, and when they have a bad day, they might say something or do something that you wish that they didn't. It's not worth losing the whole relationship over.
No. You had a really good sermon, I think that was in our Watch Your Mouth series, where you talked about biblical reconciliation and what the Bible says about this and the steps to go through that. Just real briefly, would you like to just mention that and just go over that? So
Matthew
we do
18.
so we do set people up for success.
Yeah, Matthew 18. If you want to know how to handle conflict in a church, because this is definitely part of having loving relationships. We talk about this a lot here because I am really big on this.
Yeah.
And we model it from the top down. Matthew 18. If you have an issue with somebody, you go to that person.
Yeah.
You don't just go to another church. That's not what Jesus said to do. You got an issue with someone, you go to that person.
Yeah.
You don't go to anyone else.
Yeah.
You don't go, like, this is what I had to tell people. People will have an issue with something that one of my staff members did, but they'll come to me first. Nope. This is not the way that the Bible operates.
Yeah.
It's not the way the body of Christ operates. If you have an issue with Jared, you go to Jared.
Yeah.
If you've gone to Jared and you didn't have any luck, then you can come to me.
Yeah.
But you go to whoever the issue is with, you go to that person first.
Yeah.
Because the reason why you do that is, first and foremost, that's the mature thing to do.
Yeah.
Hey, help me understand this behavior. Help me understand this statement. Maybe I'm misunderstanding something. It's mature. The other reason why you go to that person is because at the moment that you start talking about it with someone else, now that person is now on the hook, not with you, but with everyone else that finds out about the situation.
Yeah.
And what happens a lot of times is, what if you and that person make amends? Well, every single person that you involved that you should not have involved now has an opinion of that other person.
Yeah.
And that they have not made amends with, and you did. So you now tarnish this person's reputation with all of these people by including them in something that should have just stayed between the two of you.
Yeah.
And so Jesus goes on, he says, if you have odds with somebody, go to them directly. If that doesn't work, then take 2 or 3 people with you to go and have an additional conversation. If at that point they still are unrepentant and still reconciliation has not been reached, then you take them in front of the church and you go, listen, this is how we're going to handle this. In our way that we would handle that, that's when you would go, listen, you're going to come before me and the elder board and we're going to work this thing out.
Yeah.
People don't, if you'll be mature enough to do step 1, it will very rarely ever get to step 2. If you're mature enough to do step 2, it has never came to step 3.
Yeah.
It just hasn't.
Yeah.
People try to skip to step 3 because they're not mature enough to do step 1.
Yeah.
Can't happen. You have to do step 1. You have issues with somebody else, you go and talk to them.
Yeah.
Save the relationship. Do not allow the devil a foothold in our church because you're too immature to handle conflict in the way that it needs to be handled. Sometimes difficult things need to be said. They just do. It's messy. It's called life. And if you don't do it, you can't just sweep conflict under the rug and expect loving relationships to be the result. You can expect contempt and anger and passive aggressiveness to be the result, but you cannot sweep conflict under the rug and think that you're going to just have loving relationships in your congregation. You have to handle it the way that Jesus says to handle it. And the other side of this that we talk a lot here is we don't mess around with triangulation here either. Meaning, don't come up to me and go, hey, so some people have an issue with that sermon that you just had on divorce and remarriage. No, people don't get to be anonymous and have issues around here.
Yeah.
If they come to you, you respond to them. You either go directly to Scott or I will. That changes everything.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you no longer harbor gossips within your church, loving relationships can abound. Nobody trusts churches where gossips abound whatsoever. They don't want to be in relationship with people that they know are just going to stab them in the back the moment that they turn around.
Yeah.
So we don't do this in whole anonymous, like, hey, you know, somebody really had a problem. Like, no. That's somebody. Your job now that you know, if somebody has an issue, they don't get to stay anonymous.
Yeah.
You've got 3 days to go and talk to Jared. If you don't, I'm going to talk to Jared. And then Jared will be coming to talk to you. So either way, you're going to have that conversation.
Yeah.
And it's not because, like, we're trying to be intense and up in your face. It's biblical, and it's necessary for the church to move forward, for conflict to be dealt with. And you cannot cause problems in the shadows and then just keep stirring up strife and stay anonymous. This is what happens in so many churches. Word gets to a pastor. Some people are upset.
Yeah.
No, name the people out, bring them in my office, let's talk. Let's do that. That's how you keep a church healthy.
Yeah.
If it's always done in the shadows, there will be conflict abounding in your church. People won't get along. That's how when we started this off, and I said, some people probably think loving relationships is obvious.
Yeah.
And go, well, of course, every church has that. And you go, no, they don't.
Yeah.
Most churches have passive aggressiveness. Most churches have conflict that goes undealt with. So the people inside the church, they won't say it because they're good Christian people, hate each other.
Yeah.
They have contempt for each other. They do not like each other. They do not stand with each other. They simply go to the same church because they're invested in that church and refuse to leave because that's my church. And so I'll just go to church and hate everyone in the building. No. I get to preach about this Sunday night at a Palm Sunday service down in Buffalo. But the reconciliation that God offers us is not simply vertical. He is not simply concerned with you being in right relationship with him.
Yeah.
Because the scriptures are clear. If you're not in right relationship with those around you, you are not in right relationship with him.
Yeah.
So this idea that I can just be good with God and bad with everyone else is it's a false gospel.
Yeah.
Because you know this, I know this. We're both dads. If you ain't good with my kids, you ain't good with me.
Yeah.
Period.
Yep.
And God is an even better dad than we are. So you can't constantly be at odds with his kids and somehow think, oh, I'm okay with God. No. Listen, I've had a grudge on an 8-year-old before, and I'll do it again. Because you're not good with the dad if you're not good with his kids.
Yeah.
Period. So this whole idea, well, I just go to church, I worship, my relationship is a vertical, private relationship. No, it's not.
No,
it absolutely is not. If you're causing and second off, if you're causing problems with Jesus' church, I need you to also understand, in the same way that we're dads, we're also husbands.
Yeah.
Let somebody mess with my wife.
Yeah.
I'll do prison ministry right now. You know what I'm saying? And here's what people miss, though. People have no problem going and causing problems with Jesus' bride, the church, as if he is not also the type of husband that will come and deal with them.
Yeah. One of the things that we've mentioned with each one of these quality characteristics of a healthy church, if you don't get this right, or if you don't get one of them right, the others are affected.
Yeah.
If you do get them right, the others are elevated and lifted up. Mm-hmm. If you are not in a very loving relationship with others that you are going to the church with you, then your evangelism is going to be tainted. Your worship services are going to be tainted. All of these things are working together as one.
Everything down.
It really will, and it's one of those things that that's why I said this is like, it feels like this is the heartbeat. This is what is helping drive everything. Even though they are all the 8 quality characteristics can stand on their own in a sense, they are definitely needed to work in relationship with everything else. And this is the one for me that I see that if we don't get this right, then our evangelism is going to
just
suffer.
Think about this. We expect God to show up on Sunday mornings and his spirit to move in our services.
Yeah.
Why would he do that if the room is filled with people that can't stand each other?
Or what about whenever we get a group of people and we go to New York and we're ministering to some people that are like in severe poverty, and we are, handing out food and backpacks and whatever. If we can't get our relationships right, whenever we're standing in front of people that we're trying to share Jesus with, they're going to look at us and go, I don't want that Jesus.
I don't want anything to do with that. You can't have effective systems and structures without loving relationships.
Yeah.
Because we can't have conversations about things that need to change if the two of us have a mutual distrust for one another and a mutual dislike. We can't move the ball forward on any of these things if we don't like each other.
Yeah.
And again, I just go back to, imagine filling a worship center with a bunch of people that can't stand each other, and then they're singing songs to God, asking God to move, and all the while God's going, I don't even want to be here.
Yeah.
You all suck. I don't want to be here. You all do not like each other. You are just literally, you are defaming my name by coming in here over and over and singing your little songs without doing the one thing I asked you all to do.
Yeah, was to love God,
each other,
love people,
love each other. And then he's going, keep singing your little songs, but the wind of the Spirit is not blowing through this room until you all start doing the one thing he asked you to do.
Yeah.
I mean, he says, John 17, his prayer, the church would be one.
Yeah.
The church would be one. Not that in the way that we achieve unity in the church is not by brainwashing everyone to believe exactly the same thing. Unity is through loving relationships. That was Jesus' prayer, that the world would know that you belong to me.
Yeah.
Not by the songs that you sing or the sermons that you preach, but how you love one another. So please stop fighting each other in Jesus' church and then expecting that he's going to add more people to your dysfunction.
Yeah.
No way. Root out the chaos. Root out the problems. Handle them the way that God has called us to handle them. This is why strong churches are always led by strong leaders.
Yeah.
Weak leaders let people treat each other however they want. They let conflict just abound. Strong leadership is necessary for this to actually happen.
Yeah. And one of the things, too, is it's real easy to, and I've seen it happen in a lot of churches, and I'm grateful that it's not here. We have to get away, the church as a whole, from this country club mentality.
Yes.
We have to understand that all people are welcome. And it doesn't matter if they are politically on the opposite end of the aisle politically. It doesn't matter where they are at financially. It doesn't matter if they are healthy people or sick people, or if they don't look the same as you, if they don't dress the same as you, they don't talk the same, they're blue collar and we're white collar, or vice versa. We have to get away from this. You don't have to meet a certain expectation or standard to come to this church, Southridge Church. All people are welcome, regardless of your race, whatever you want to say that the rest of the world can differentiate us. That it has to be torn down.
Well, in addition, so James chapter 2 talks about the sin of partiality, which for most churches is a sin that they never talk about. Yeah, which is, let a new family come to your church that the dad is 6'3", full head of hair, successful, wealthy businessman. His wife is, dressed really nicely with designer clothes on. Their kids they look like they just stepped out of a J. Crew magazine, and they've been to finishing school to learn how to be proper and have etiquette and all this. And they give a lot of money to the church, and they're all put together. Oh, those people everybody wants to be friends with. Yeah. But let somebody come in here that used their last gallon of gas to roll in here in their, 1985, whatever. Yeah. Tattered looking clothes. Don't smell the best. Yeah. Kids are a little wild because they've never been to church before. Yeah. And it's like, do you have a desire to have a relationship with those people?
Mm.
Because James chapter 2 calls the partiality, the desiring of honoring one person in the body over somebody else, a sin.
Yeah.
And the church is so guilty of it.
I know.
I'm so guilty of it.
I know.
That there's certain people that I'm like, hey, your life is like my life, so I want to be.
Yeah.
And churches that get loving relationships right will squash the sin of partiality in their midst.
I think that we're always so drawn to individuals who are successful more than we are personally. And we want to, pick their brain and how did you get to this? And I think somebody who makes $20,000 a year and that's on food stamps and government assistance, they probably want to pick my brain because they look at my life and they go, man, if I could just have it together like Jared. And I'm like, what are we doing?
But like,
I've got kids that are
those
always
are the people that are getting overlooked on Sundays.
Yeah.
When you're going, I'm going to invite so-and-so to lunch after church.
Yeah.
Who are you looking for? You're looking for the people that look just like you.
Yeah.
That live like you. You're not looking for people that are different than you.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, this sin of if you want loving relationships, you got to squash the sin of partiality. And there's a family that doesn't have the same type of house as you, lives in a different neighborhood, lives in a different town than you.
Yeah.
Their life is drastically different. Are you inviting them to your house? Are you having a relationship with them?
Yeah.
Or is all your time spent with people that are exactly like you?
Yeah.
That right there.
Guilty.
We're not talking about.
I'm guilty.
We're not talking about loving relationships just for the people that are. It's easy to have loving relationships with. Sometimes people's lives are just really, really messy, and that's why the church has to be in the loving relationships business.
Yeah.
Because God sends messy people to the church.
Yeah.
And we can't just flock to the ones that have the same socioeconomic status as us or the same nice buttoned up fake life. Like, we got to squash that out too. That'll be a big part of loving relationships in any church.
Yeah. This episode almost got me, bruh. Almost got me. I almost started. The floodgates almost opened up because, I feel like I do a pretty decent job at it, but the Holy Spirit the whole time is like, nah, you could do better.
Yeah.
Nah, you could do better.
I feel strong in every other quality characteristic, but I feel I'm growing in this one because the Lord has convicted me about it last year. And it's getting there. It's not, I will never be, I tell people all the time, if you don't know Pastor Melissa down at Tays Valley, she is top tier at this. Yeah. She is a loving,
she really
caring, I'm trying to think of thoughtful pastor. Like, she does it as good as anybody.
Yeah.
I will probably never, when it comes to care, be on that level. I'm just not wired that way. But that doesn't mean that for the longest time, I've allowed my wiring to be my excuse to let this slip in my ministry.
Yeah.
Nope. It's not acceptable.
Yeah.
I will continue to grow in this until I'm finished with ministry.
Yeah.
I may never be as good as some other people that are just natural pastors and naturally caring
but
people.
I am going to try.
But I'm going to keep fighting tooth and nail to get better every single year. And so if you had a version of me previously in ministry where you're like, that dude, trust me, I get it. You're not telling me anything I don't know. I'm working on it. I'm committed to getting to be more mindful and more thoughtful and like seeing needs and stepping in. I'm getting there. It's not my strong suit.
Yeah. Well, and that's the good thing too, is that it is visible. In the 5 years that I've been here, you are a completely different person, and that's all credit to God and for you being obedient to whenever He says, "Hey, I need you to do this. Yeah. I need you to grow in this area. I need you to focus on this." And I think that I would hope to say that anybody's life, over time, the longer that you get to know them, the change is almost tangible. Yeah. I think that I would hope to say that if somebody that has served on the worship team since I've gotten here and to where I'm at right now, that something leadership-wise, a quality has gotten better over time.
Yeah.
It may not be, in some instances, just I open my mouth at some inopportune times. But I would hope to say that maybe the relationship side of things, maybe the leadership side of things, maybe something has improved over time. And I can say that for you, that it has gotten better and that you are trying. And it's not
it's still not my strong suit, but it will no longer be my excuse.
Yeah. I enjoyed this episode, man. You'll like this one. So we have a mystery meat question, just like potluck. There's always a mystery meat on the buffet table. Sometimes you like it, sometimes you don't. You'll like this one. If you can only wear one color for the rest of your life, which color would it be?
Black.
My man.
You know what's so funny? At that conference earlier this week, I swear, like 80% of the speakers wore all black.
I know. It makes it, dude, this is why I want to. My wife won't let me because she's like, you gotta.
Yeah, I'm not quite there yet.
Yeah.
But like, I like teaching in all black.
I'll tell you this much: the amount of time that I've wasted trying to figure out what I'm gonna wear, is astronomical.
Yeah.
Because I always go, okay, let's just go to the dark section of the closet because I separated everything by colors. I'm OCD like that, and I'm like, all right, what shade of black am I gonna wear?
Yeah. Well, that's like, look, I wore these pants today, and I had to switch jackets a couple times to find out what jacket could get. If I was just wearing black, I know what like my black jackets.
Yeah.
I'm good to go.
Yeah.
Great. I would wear black. And what's funny is before like.
Because any pair of shoes I ever want is going to rock.
Before 4 or 5 years ago, I'd never wore black. I wouldn't wear navy blue, which I'm wearing today, or black. Because I didn't like all the little fuzzies that got all over your clothes. And then I realized everyone has those, and you actually can't see them.
Yeah, on camera.
You got to be up really close to see that there's fuzzies, and I have a lint roller, and so now I love wearing dark clothes.
Yeah.
And so I'm wearing all black on Easter, which I know is not what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have a pop of collar. I'm wearing all black.
Oh, you're wearing a what?
A pop of collar, but
a pop of color.
But I'm wearing all black.
Oh, I thought you said proper collar, and I was like, what?
No, I'm wearing all black on Easter because that's my favorite.
Yeah.
But I will have some color. Just give you a little tease.
We already know where the color's coming from.
Yeah, everybody know where the color's coming from.
We had a whole episode on shoes,
but unless you've seen the picture, you ain't ready for it.
I've seen the picture. They're pretty dope.
Yeah, they're sitting on my mantle right now. They're not getting busted out until
you're not gonna
Sunday
like.
morning.
Dude, no, what you need to do is just like put them on Saturday and just kind of break them in.
Nah, these don't need broke in. These come ready to go.
All right,
that's my second pair of these.
All right,
these come ready to go. They feel they're the best shoe I own.
I will be wearing something that you've probably seen me wear 100 times because I've gotten to the point to where I have crazier needs in life with being a foster dad now that I'm like, I just can't go and splurge on shoes and stuff like that.
You can wear all black and them red Jordan 11s.
Dude, only if Trish Kennedy shows up. We need it. Trish, I know you don't listen to this, but hopefully, if you do, I'll wear them for you on Easter Sunday.
You gotta wear your red shoes for Easter.
Nah, I think I'm gonna wear them for Good Friday. That just makes more sense.
Oh, it does. I'll probably be in all black on Good Friday too.
I need to go. What if I went out and bought like white pants and it was just like the yin to your yang?
I'm wearing Saturday or Sunday night. I'm preaching at that community service. I'll probably wear all black for it also.
Yeah. My man.
Yeah. So that was. I did like that question.
Yeah, it was a good one.
More questions like that that I have a definitive answer for.
I don't know. I'm kind of like I'm not, like tempted just to let it run out and then we just don't do it anymore.
Well, I still haven't heard the ones that I wrote for Anna.
Dude, I don't know where. Dude,
and none of those look like it either. I feel like they got thrown away.
No, I haven't thrown anything away.
Oh, maybe there's.
They're the more flimsy paper, right? Because like everything else is.
Might be.
I don't know.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. All right. Well, while the credits are rolling, we'll sort through this. Y'all have a good week. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much for listening in with us today. We really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You can also follow us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram. You can also watch the video version of this on YouTube as well. All you have to do is search up the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. From all of us here, we want to say thank you, and we'll see you next week.